Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2020-21 season. My name is Dan and today we're talking the most important decision of your Game Week 4, and that is your captaincy decision. Who are you going to pick as captain? Now, obviously, the last few weeks we've had some, disappointing captaincy results. So, I really did want to encourage you, first of all, to try and make your own decisions. I can only suggest what I personally think is the best choice. Sometimes that will come off, sometimes that won't come off. But also in this video, I'm going to put a much more bigger emphasis on stats, sort of statistics from the opposition and from the player to help you make a more informed decision and sort of help you get into my head as to how I make my decisions a little bit, so you can make those decisions yourself. So you might see listen to some of the stats that I talk about today, and you might think, oh, I'm not actually sure I agree with that one. Perhaps I won't go for his first choice. Perhaps I'll go for his second choice, or something like that. And you can sort of help make your own decision a little bit. So if you do enjoy this video, and if you do appreciate this video with a little bit more stats, please do leave a big like, just to let me know that I'm going in the right direction, I'm doing the right thing, and this is helpful stuff, because I do want to just create helpful content for you guys to the best of my ability. Anyway, of course, if you are new, please do consider subscribing. I'm trying to push towards 40,000 subscribers now, trying to aim for 50,000 by the end of the calendar year, so we'll see how we get on there. But let's move on to the captaincy picks without further ado, because we don't want to be talking all day in the intro. So let's go to my fifth best option, in my opinion, and that is Danny Ings. Now, in terms of a fixture for an attacking player, you don't really get much better than home versus West Brom. West Brom, I can sort of continue to break records for most goals conceded at the start of a season, with 11 goals conceded now, which is just crazy. And, you know, the stats back it up too. They've got an expected goals conceded stat of 8.84. And just to put that into context, the second worst of that stat is Leeds, with 5.9 expected goals conceded. So they've almost beaten that, the second worst, by 3 entire expected goals. So it's not even close at all. They basically top every other stat in terms of bad defence. So most shots conceded with 52, most shots in the box conceded with 34, most shots on target conceded with 24, and it doesn't really seem to be slowing down either. They're just conceding an ungodly amount of shots, and that's leading to goals. More interestingly, they also concede a sort of disproportionate amount of their chances on the right flank, which sort of gives left-sided striker Danny Ings an even better chance, because Southampton obviously play with 2 up top. Danny Ings will typically play on the left side of those 2. And Che Adams will play on the right there. But I do have to admit, with this captaincy pick, and this is why he's 5th, this is very much a case of attacking a fixture rather than picking a good player to captain. And this is sort of exactly what I did with Werner last week, and it didn't really pay off. So if you think Ings has a better chance of scoring than Werner does this week rather than last week, if you fancy Ings to sort of take advantage of this defence, grab a penalty perhaps, I have to admit Southampton's goals mostly do come through Ings, so that is a big appealing factor. But I'm still just not 100% sure I trust Southampton yet. Still, Ings are very much worth considering, and you might like the sound of that. So we'll move on to my number 4 pick, and it's Raul Jimenez. So far he's averaging 3 shots in the box per game, 1 big chance per game. He's also got the 5th best non-penalty expected goal stats so far amongst forwards, and the 7th best of all players. So it's 1.62 expected non-penalty goals. So, you know, is expected to get a goal every other game, I suppose, excluding penalties. Of course, against all odds, Wolves actually haven't had any penalties yet. So once you sort of add that factor in, you know, Jimenez starts to look really nice. He's another string to his bow, if you like, that hasn't quite been realised yet. So these stats, of course, were recorded against some pretty tough defences, sort of some of the tougher defences in the league as well. So Sheffield United, Manchester City and West Ham. I know West Ham is probably going to surprise you, but they've actually got the 4th lowest expected goals conceded out of all of the teams that have played at least 3 games. So I think we might have judged West Ham very, very quickly and expected them to be the typical whipping boys, a team where you can go out and really attack, a team that you can dominate. But that really has not been the case so far. So we might have been a little bit quick to judge West Ham. So in that regard, don't give Jimenez too much stick for not scoring every single game kind of thing. But, you know, against a far, far weaker opposition than the 3 teams that Jimenez has already played, Wolves and Jimenez probably have a much better chance at goals, you would say. So let's have a little look at Fulham. So Fulham I think we all pretty much know that Fulham are struggling. They've conceded the second most goals so far this season with 10. They're conceding sort of loads of shots, but not the most shots necessarily, but they are conceding a lot of shots. They've conceded 8 big chances in 3 games, which is pretty huge. This kind of means that the chances that they are giving away are usually of high quality for the attacking player to score. Last week, the club's owner actually came out and apologised, I guess, for the defensive display, and he said he wished he could buy some new defenders, but COVID has sort of restricted Fulham's ability to do that. He wanted to buy some new centre backs, but it wasn't to happen. So he's lambasted the team. You would think that might spur the team on to perform a little bit better, but that actually absolutely wasn't the case because, they lost to Championship side Brentford last night 3-0 in the League Cup. So in conclusion, Fulham just are not in a good place right now. The problem is with Jimenez, although he's very consistent, he rarely scores more than 1 goal contribution in a single game. In fact, he's only ever scored twice in one game, so a brace in a game, on 2 occasions over the 2 years that he's been in the Premier League. One sort of in each of his last 2 seasons. So he's played over 2 years of Premier League football and has only scored 2 braces, which is not very good. So what you can usually expect from Jimenez is a high floor but a low ceiling. Now the chances of him getting points is high, but the chances of him getting a really big, really tasty, nice score that's going to rocket you up the leaderboards, that's pretty low actually. But then again, this is a home game against Fulham, so who knows, this might be his chance to finally grab his first Premier League hat-trick or something like that. His first time he's got 3 goal contributions in one game. It could happen, you never know, but it hasn't happened so far in terms of the stats. So let's move on to number 3, and I've got for you Raheem Sterling. So I've spoken about some of the weak defences already, but the other weak defence that I think is one of the weak defences worth mentioning is Leeds indeed. So Leeds are really good going forward, but this sort of comes at the expense of their defence. They're playing really, really attacking football. They're not scared of anyone. They really just want to go for it. They're sort of murderable style of football. They really want to win matches, and it's kind of working for them. So why would they change it? Even when they're going up against Man City, they kind of nearly upset Liverpool using this exact tactic. So why not, eh? But because of this, they are sort of second in the list for expected goals conceded, as I mentioned earlier, sort of just behind West Brom. So whilst I would be a little bit worried about playing my defenders against Leeds, I think this is a really good fixture for attacking players, and that's why we could look towards some Man City players for our captain's armband. Sterling, he almost didn't make the list, but just because his Premier League stats haven't looked amazing so far. They've looked okay, but not amazing. So 4 shots in 2 games, only 2 on target, and just 0.4 expected goals. 1 key pass, which did create a big chance, and ended up as an assist to that's an expected assist of 0.56. Now, like I said, this is not bad at all, but it's not it doesn't really compare with some of the other top players, and even some of the players slightly cheaper than Sterling are outperforming or have a better stats than this. So. But I kind of do prefer Sterling on the wing as a forward than as a forward. I think he's generally usually better, more involved, I guess more important to Man City and their success when he's on the wing. However, like I said, I did change my mind on Wednesday when Sterling scored twice and got an assist in the League Cup against Premier League rivals Burnley, to be fair. So it's not even like they're playing at a particularly weaker team. Playing against a Premier League team in Burnley, 2 goals, 1 assist. That's pretty good in the League Cup there. And this was whilst playing as a forward as well. So it kind of indicated that he can possibly get some big hauls there. He's sort of definitely capable of a big haul in the Premier League too, as we've kind of seen many times in the past. The problem is, the problem is for people watching this video is that so few people own him, so few of you guys own him, that you probably can't consider him as a captain because you just simply don't have him. But for those of you who do have Sterling in your team, this could be a really, really, really good opportunity for you to jump sort of way ahead of your rivals. If you really want to chase rank a little bit, if you've had a little bit of a bad season so far, you got Sterling in your team. If you captain him and he gets a really good score, you are going to rocket up the tables. It's like sort of a really good differential opportunity there. And usually a differential captain is on a player that's quite frankly not as good, but Sterling is a very good player, so really good opportunity for you guys there if you do have Sterling. But still not my favourite pick, so we'll move on to them. So number 2, Mo Salah. He's this year's highest scoring non-forward so far, and he's sort of one of those typically reliable players alongside De Bruyne. You could probably just consider captaining Mo Salah on any game week. He's just a safe pick. He's kind of greedy. He always wants to shoot and score goals, even if it means neglecting his teammates, which is not ideal for Liverpool fans sometimes. I can understand your frustration there. But for FPL, this is really good. This is sort of absolutely perfect. But I say he doesn't like to pass that much, but he is 4th for expected assists in the whole league so far with 1.42. He's also 4th for expected goals in the league with 2.32 expected goals, although this has been slightly padded by his 2 penalties that he scored. His non-penalty expected goals is kind of all the way down at 0.79, which actually puts him outside the top 20 players in this stat, which is a small concern. But still, once again, algorithms put Salah at the top of the list for predicted points in this game week against Aston Villa. So if you trust computers to make your FPL decisions, I guess, then this is probably the pick for you. That said, I do think Aston Villa are often underestimated. Since lockdown last season, they have been sort of a vastly improved defensive team. They're no longer committing their fullbacks as high up the pitch to attack. And they kind of look more comfortable in a lower block to sort of frustrate their oppositions a little bit. I have no real doubt that Liverpool will win. They've been, a brilliant attacking team so far, and they've scored a lot of goals. But Villa are the kind of team right now that doesn't really get beaten more than 3-0, even by the best teams. And ideally, I would want a slightly higher ceiling than that. But let's move on to my final pick. My number 1 pick is, of course, Kevin De Bruyne. You might have guessed that already. So I've spoken a little bit about Leeds' poor defensive record so far, but I do have a stat to add to that when talking about KDB. So Leeds have conceded 3 penalties so far in the Premier League. That's more than any other team. And who takes the penalties for City? None other than De Bruyne. So even if KDB has a stinker, all City need to do is get a penalty and points are on the board for KDB, assuming that he scores it, of course. That said, when does KDB ever have a stinker? He's a great player, and he's probably going to be up there with the most popular captain picks this game week once again. And his Premier League stats, to be fair, do back that up. So in 2 game weeks, his expected goals is 1.52, down to 0.75 without penalties. This was in 6 shots, 4 on target with 2 big chances. His expected assists is 0.84. So far, this is in 2 games again. He's had an insane 9 key passes that he's made. He's absolutely spraying final third passes as usual. He's got 78 passes in the final third. That's 3rd amongst all players in FPL, despite the fact, like I said, he's only played 2 games instead of 3 like most other players. His new solo advanced position, I guess, is making him more of a creative hub, I guess, for Man City. And, it's looking much better when he's alone in that attacking midfield position, and I do think that is an area that can be attacked in that Leeds side. And to top it off, he only played 60 minutes midweek in the League Cup, so you would expect him to play more minutes than players such as Sterling and Mahrez in that Man City team who have played a few more minutes. And the fact that this is an away match, which I know some people will be looking at and saying, oh yeah, he's a good option, but it's an away game. Players like, De Bruyne's stats are slightly worse in away games. Yeah, only slightly worse. It's not that much of a difference. But, without the crowd, I don't think there's that much consideration to be made here. It just seems like a really obvious choice, and I sort of be kicking myself if I neglected this opportunity to captain De Bruyne. So overall, with his history, consistency, stats backing him up against one of the worst defences in the league, he really just looks like the best option to me. And, for that reason, De Bruyne is going to be my number 1 captain pick for this game week, and the player that I will be captaining this game week indeed. So, if you want to avoid my curse, then don't pick De Bruyne. But like I said, the stats back him up as the best option in my personal opinion. Maybe you like the look of the stats of another player or another opposition, and you want to go for them. Go for it by all means. I don't think there's a single bad captaincy pick in this entire list. To be honest, I try and make sure I always do that. But yes, there you go. That is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Please do give it a big like if you did enjoy this video. As always, please do consider subscribing if you're new around here. Turn those notifications on, of course. If you want to join my mini league, if you want to support me on Patreon, if you want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram, all of the links are in the description. So go check that out right now. Check. Plenty of other videos on the channel for this week. There's a sort of, a buy, sell, keep, avoid transfers video. I've got my personal team draft. I've got a wild card draft that you can go check out as well on my channel. So loads of stuff for Game Week 4 if you want to go check that stuff out if you haven't done already. So please do that. And the next time I'll see you will be on Monday. I think on Monday. I might either do Monday or maybe Sunday. Probably Monday for a sort of review of Game Week 4. We'll reflect a little bit, and you guys can sort of ask me a few questions. And we'll sort of look at some of your scores and stuff, and we'll just have a little bit of a hangout and chill out there. So do wait for that, and yeah, hopefully you'll be there and join me on that. But aside from that, I hope everyone has a really good game week 4. I'm wishing you all of the best of luck, and hopefully we can all smash it together, dominate our mini league, and this, that, and the other. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. See you later, mates. Bye bye.